So I'm here at the Nordic Film Days in Lübeck, and with me is Bent Hammer, the director of The Middleman, which is showing here in the competition of narrative films. I have to say, I'm a huge admirer of your work.
Thank you.
And for so many years. I love your films like O Harden or Kitchen Stories, just to mention a few. So it's a real pleasure to have you here.
Thank you.
First of all, for our viewers who are not able to be here in Lübeck, can you tell me in your own word what The Middleman is about?
That's always a good question. No, it's based on a part of a book by a Norwegian writer, Lars Christensen. But it's a very, it's with a start and ending from a story from a small town in the Rust Belt, I would say. At least one of these towns in the US, which we have seen a lot of documentaries from, where people are struggling. I mean, no hope for the future, no work, all the business is down. And there are a lot of accidents in this town. I mean, it's a fictional town, but still it's based on the situation. So the troika, as I like to call it, the sheriff, the doctor, and the priest, they can't handle all the bad news and to tell the relatives, so they have to hire a middleman to be the messenger of bad news. So the main character got that job, and of course he had no education or no schooling or training to do that. So it's a lot of awkward situations, and in a way he's in the same situation himself, more or less. And the small town called Karmack is, it's hard to stay there, but it's even harder to leave it. And it's also a small love story, and I have to say, it's a little hope maybe in the end, but it's quite dark, but quite some humor in it also.
It's been 8 years since your last film, 1001 Gram. What took you so long?
Yeah, that's also a good question. I mean, this film have been ready for one and a half year nearly because of the corona. And to shoot the film we shot it in Canada and in Germany. And yeah, it's very complicated with the production and with the financing and everything. So we struggled for a long time to how to do it, simply. So I've done it before with Factotum also, which we shot in the US, which is a kind of, description of the down and out life and people who are living on the edge, which, yeah, I didn't plan to make another film about that subject, but maybe, yeah, it's also very, the book is written in 2011 and was published in 2012, so it was really pre-Trump, but all the problems didn't come with Trump, even if you connected to him maybe, and the people who vote for him. But still, and of course the story also is connected to a lot of people other places in the world, like in Europe, where you have, especially young people, don't have a job, have to move back to their parents. And like in Spain, is it 40-45% of the young people who are unemployed? So it's really more up to date and the subject today than it was when he wrote the book, I would say also, which interests me.
What's the hardest part when developing a film? Is it finding the story, or getting it financed, or maybe something completely different?
Each stage has its own difficulties in a way and challenges. So it's hard to say that one thing is more difficult than another thing. But in a way, it's for me, as I'm writing, producing, and directing, it's the first big challenge is to decide what project I would like to go for. because I don't go for 3 projects, I go for 1 project. That's more than enough to keep, I mean, to keep keep up with the interest, and because it takes time, even if you do it. I mean, if it looks like it's an easier project to do, then it's always wrong. It's always tricky, and you have a lot of things to discover during that travel. So it's hard to say what's most.
You just said that the film is based on a book. Is it? Did you took the whole novel, or did you take just parts of the book?
It's part of the book, and the book is divided into 3 parts, and this is one part, which in the book is like 120 pages or something. But I mean, when you adapt, even call it a short novel, I mean, you have to do selections, and you have to decide what to focus on. And I also have twisted a little bit, actually. So yeah, it's always like that, even if it's short.
So you just mentioned the film was shot in 2018 and was supposed to come out 2019, and then COVID happened. That must have been very frustrating, having a film ready and not being able to show it.
Yeah, of course it is. But I mean, I was in the same boat as all the other people also waiting. So I mean, it was not very special, but that was, what could we do? I mean, so, but it is, and it's hard to get it out of your system in a way, and starting on a new project when you have one that you want to follow up. And so I'm very happy that now it's time for a release. What
was the reason that you based it in the US?
It's written in, even if it's a Norwegian writer, that's, he was traveling in the US actually, and he came to a town that was, yeah, a little bit like this. So it's written, it's based on 100% on a US town.
Okay. And you shot in Sault Ste. Marie, which is exactly at the border between Ontario and Michigan. 91% of the residents are there of European descent, predominantly from Italy, France, England, and the northern countries. Was that the reason why you chose?
No, it was more, I mean, we had a Canadian co-producer, and I hadn't been up there before. And when they read the script and wanted to be part of it, they immediately said, oh, this one, we have to shoot it up in Sault Ste. Marie. But it's also First Nations up there. I don't know the percentage of the people, you maybe know that, but it's a very strange place. And the town is divided in 2 with a bridge over. And one side is the US, the Sault Ste. Marie, Michigan, and on the east side it's Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario. So it's a very strange place.
You also shot in Germany, in Cologne and surroundings, and Solingen and Duisburg. Are there any other reasons than the funding to do it there? And what did you shoot there? Because you don't see it in the film.
Yeah, first of all, you can't do it without funding. But now have been co-producing and cooperating with Pandora Films for many years and many films. And learn to know also people, the crew. So it's really a combination. It is.
The film had its premiere at the Toronto International Film Festival, but sadly without you because of COVID restrictions. And now you're here at the Nordic Film Days in Lübeck, and you were able to present your film, I think yesterday.
No, today.
It's today, okay.
It was screened yesterday.
Okay, so you're going to present it today, and how did that feel to be here in person?
Fantastic. I mean, I have done it only once. I've been invited to several places, but it's very hard to go. But I went to Cologne Festival, International Film Festival. So I've done it once in Germany, which was very nice, also with the crew in the screening room, of course. But it's always exciting, especially in the beginning, of course.
The title middleman in the film gets hired, as you said, to deliver bad news. I never thought that this might even be a profession. When you did your research for the film, did you find out who usually does that job?
Yes, I did, and yeah, that's a whole interesting aspect of it. I know a priest in Oslo, and many times they got the job to deliver these difficult messages to families. Sometimes it is the police, sometimes there are other friends, sometimes there are someone from, community doctors. But what I found out is that there are, not in Norway at least, there are no specific routines for it. So it's also a discussion among the people who do it, and I mean they have the kind of education to talk about difficult things, but I mean there are no profession as a middleman. So it's very often they told me it's also very it's who's available. So it's a little bit by chance, which is not very good, I would say.
I would say so too. The film is, like all your other films, absolutely timeless. It might be the past, it might be the present or the future, you never know. Is that somehow important to you?
At least you have to decide before you start shooting, and it's a discussion between the production designer, photographer, and all the other head of department, of course. It's not that I want to make every film, and I have made films from the 50s, like Kitchen Stories also, and more modern films. But those two films, Factotum and The Middleman, who's based on this down and out life in the US, I think it fits the story very well, and it fit the essence of the story, the atmosphere, and so on. We are not avoiding all modern stuff, but we try to take it out, as you said, as a kind of no-time feeling. So, yes, absolutely planned.
When I watched the Q&A session from Toronto in preparation for this interview, I was surprised that some of the actors who hadn't seen the film, the final film until then, said that they, even after the shoot, they did not know what the film was about. Is that some kind of technique to leave the actors unknown?
No, we have heard about those kind of techniques, of course, but not at all. But that was maybe one of the Canadian actors, or it was a kind of humor also, I believe. But well, they have to say that. But I don't know, to put it that way. But I think they knew quite well what it was all about.
You have a wonderful cast, including Tuva Novotny, who's always amazing.
Yeah.
How did you choose the cast? What was the process?
The Canadian cast, I had to trust my co-producers in Canada, and I was very lucky about that. I really enjoyed working with them, very nice and clever and skilled, and had the kind of humor we like, all of us, and easy to work with for the other Norwegian actors also, who had to lean on them also in relation to the language and so on. The Scandinavian actors, I mean, I don't go through any, well, in the end sometimes you have to when you make the deals, but that's still easy in Scandinavia, that you call people and ask them if they want to read the script. So I decided who I thought would fit into the parts, but also this time I had to take into consideration the language, of course, because I wanted it to be as authentic as possible. We didn't operate with dialects, and we decided that's for a town of that, it's small, but of that size, I mean, you can go out wherever you go out, and people, then you have to be up in a very narrow place when people are talking kind of dialect you don't understand, but I mean, so it's the dialect is little different, but that was okay. So I also went like to Anna. She even, you don't know that, but she even speak all the Scandinavian languages, and you can't, and I mean it's very small differences, but you can't say she's from Denmark or Sweden or Norway. She's really good, and Paul Sverre also is fantastic.
They're both amazing.
Yeah, and the mother, she's from Sandefjord, my small hometown, and she was also in home for Christmas. I wanted to give her another chance because I just know she's fantastic, and she's born and raised in Canada, so she also supported a lot with the language and helped the actors, with things. So it was. I was very happy with the cast.
Yeah. I have to talk to you about the final scenes, without giving anything away. I'm not sure whether it's a dream sequence or whether it's really happening. I think both might be possible. Was that your intention to leave that ambiguous? And or maybe just I'll maybe just ask if the lyrics from the song playing in the last scene is giving any hint.
Yes to everything you asked. I wanted to be kind of open. I have my own interpretation, which is not the correct one. I mean, it's no objective answer on the questions. So it's up to the audience. And the song by Anne Brun, of course, as you said, it could take you in the direction of a dream scene. The lyrics, if people get the lyrics. But for me, I tried to make it open. I could have shot it another way. I had or edited it in another way also. But I wanted it to be open and up to the audience. Yeah.
What about your future? Is there anything you can already talk about? Do we really have to wait another 8 years?
I don't hope so, but it's it's not easier to make these kind of films, the more art house films these days, and none of us know how it will be what is the normal when the corona is over. Hopefully it will be much better for this kind of films also, and for all films. But well, now as I always, when I made the film, I'm back to the writing. So it will be. At least I'm working on a story that is not an adaptation, but 100% from me. So we'll see. Hopefully not 8 years.
I would wait that long if that's what it takes to make a decent and wonderful film. So, but I'm really looking forward to the next installment. Good luck with this film.
Thank you.
Have fun tonight at the screening, and thank you very much for the interview.
Thank you.